Good morning, Knicks Nation. Happy Friday. I hope everybody's healthy and safe. Uh, okay. I told you guys that everybody's going to eventually have to come to Papa. Here we are. Here we are. So let's talk about four players. Let's talk about four players. Let's talk about Fred VanVleet, Malik Beasley, Gordon Hayward, and Bogdan Bogdanovic. Now, the only player we had not talked about before is Hayward. I did not think he was unhappy in Boston, and I did not think he would opt out of $34 million. But apparently both of those things are true. The other three players we have discussed. And so I want to say this weekend, the Knicks are in a position to get two of them. Okay? Now, Bogdanovic, Beasley, and Hayward play the same position. Let's start with Beasley and Hayward because the Knicks will not be able to get both of them because they both play the same position. They're going to take one of them. And if they wanted VanVleet, it would be difficult for them to get VanVleet and Hayward. They could get VanVleet and Beasley. They won't be able to get VanVleet and Hayward. Okay? So, and why? Because Hayward's going to cost, and if he's going to probably be 3 years between $18 million and $20 million a year. So let's say it was 18 that the Knicks were willing to pay. So you're talking about $18 million. The Knicks just got Ed Davis, and I believe he's the replacement Ed Davis for Taj Gibson, unless they're going to use Ed Davis in a trade. At $5 million, that's a better number than what they had for Taj Gibson. Ed Davis is 31. He's a roughneck power forward that can also back up the 5. That's exactly Taj Gibson, and he plays defense. So I think that's probably somebody they would keep, although they could use him in a trade. But let's assume they'll keep him. So that leaves the Knicks with about $36 million in cap. So now if you paid Gordon Hayward 18, that leaves you 18. Fred VanVleet's going to start around 20. Okay? So that's, something they probably wouldn't do. So you could get Gordon Hayward, and that's who you'll have, Gordon Hayward. And he'll be your starting 2, and they'll move RJ to the 3, or vice versa, they're wings. And that'll be that. Or you can get Malik Beasley and Fred VanVleet. So let's talk about Fred VanVleet for a second. Also, I want to say, the Atlanta Hawks are our competition for Beasley and Hayward. I think Atlanta really wants Hayward, but I think now they're in a competition for Beasley as well. They have $43 million in cap space, and so they got the money. They can get him, okay. And it depends on how much they want to pay him. They may overpay him, but they can get him. He would work perfectly next to Trae Young. So would Beasley, okay, actually. So Fred VanVleet would not. So I don't think they're after Fred VanVleet. He would not work very well next to Trae Young, but the two wings would, and also of course Bogdanovic would. So Atlanta's probably in the market for one of those, and I think for Atlanta, Gordon Hayward is probably the headliner they're going for. Okay. As far as Beasley, Minnesota already traded Jerome James, and the 17th pick. Dang on, Sam Presti beat us to it. So they're going to need a starting 4, though. Right now, Juancho Hernan Gomez is their starting 4. And I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's a promising player, but Julius Randle is better and ready to step in and be the 3rd or 4th option on that team. So Minnesota is now dangling Beasley. We just found out yesterday, and I was wondering when the Knicks were going to inquire about him. And of course, it's mentioned the Knicks are one of the teams very interested in Beasley. So this is going to be a sign and trade. This is going to be a sign and trade because Minnesota can match any offer because Beasley's a restricted free agent, but they're not going to keep him. So they're basically going to be signing and trading him. All right. So now this is a simple deal. I think Beasley's market I thought was $13 million a year, 3 years, $39 million. But now there's going to be competition. Atlanta's looking at him as well. I can see, well, that's it. Maybe, well, there's some other teams interested, but not teams with cap space. There'd be some playoff teams probably interested in Malik, but they don't have the cap space. Miami might be interested, but I think Miami's going to get Danilo Gallinari. And then Miami has Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson, so I can't see them really paying money for Fred VanVleet. I mean, not for Beasley. So really, it's us in Atlanta in the competition for Malik Beasley. Toronto might be there. They have some cap space. Toronto has 17 million of cap space, so they might be in the game as well. So it's a sign and trade. So for us, we can offer Julius Randle straight up for Malik Beasley. We probably have to pay him a little bit more, maybe 3 years, 42 million or 14 million a year. That would leave us we'd still have about 22 million of cap space still, with that deal. That would be enough to get Fred VanVleet if we wanted him. So for the Malik Beasley, the Knicks are probably going to make an offer. And I think Julius Randle, 3 years, 42 million. It'll be an incentive. In fact, all four of these guys, the contract is going to have incentives in them. If it's me, the contract would have incentives in them. So, we talk incentives like this, like you got to play 85% of the games. You got to play, you got to shoot, 75, 80% from the line. You got to shoot 38% from three. Your defensive plus minus has got to be a certain amount. I would put incentives in there. So like if it was Malik Beasley, his base salary would probably be 13. And then we give him $1 million of incentives every year if he hits those numbers, and so the total deal will be 42 million over 3 years. That's what I'm thinking for Malik. He fits the timeline. He's the cheapest of all these guys. He's the youngest. Okay. And so you'd have a starting five of Frank, Malik, RJ, Obi, and Mitchell Robinson. And then if they did get Fred VanVleet, Frank and Quickly would be coming off the bench, and then you'd have Fred VanVleet starting beside Malik Beasley, and that's a shooting lineup right there. So you got Malik Beasley, Fred VanVleet, RJ, Mitchell Robinson, and of course Obi Toppin. You got 3 shooters in the lineup with Mitch and RJ. So that would be good also. So I'm thinking the first deal is 3 years, 42 million with incentives for Malik Beasley, trading Julius Randle in a sign and trade. Okay, and Julius becomes the starting 4 in Minnesota. And I told y'all, Malik wants to start. I was telling some people in Minnesota talking about it was crazy. People don't think, I don't understand. If you draft Anthony Edwards, you starting him, right? And so Malik wants to start. So what you going to do? You got to sit one of them. So who's going to sit? And so there you go. And then they just got Ricky Rubio. He's going to start. D'Angelo Russell's going to start. So now you got one spot. Anthony Edwards is starting. So now Malik is like, I want to start. So this is probably mutual between Malik and Minnesota, and Malik is looking to start. So 14 million a year, 3 years with incentives. We trade them Julius Randle. That's deal 1. Let's talk about Fred VanVleet. I have a feeling, looking at the whole thing after listening to the interview that JJ Redick did with Fred VanVleet, looking at Fred VanVleet's situation, okay, and Toronto's situation and what they did, I think Fred VanVleet got 1 foot out the door. I think he got 1 foot out the door. Really, I do. And so we have a good opportunity to get him. We just can't lowball him. The Knicks don't want to overpay, but we can't lowball him either, okay? It's got to be a fair contract, a market value contract. Now, the only team, and I know there's a bunch of teams with cap space, but the truth is, Atlanta's not going to throw the bag at him. Sacramento is not going to throw the bag at him. They got De'Aaron Fox. Detroit just drafted Killian Hayes. They're not throwing the bag at him. New Orleans is the real threat here. David Griffin is smart. Okay, they just got George Hill, and they got, oh God, what's the guy's name? They got George Hill. Hold on, I'll tell you. They got George Hill and well, we know they drafted Kyrie Lewis, but I'm not talking about him. Eric Bledsoe. They got George Hill and Eric Bledsoe. So if they wanted Fred VanVleet to play beside Lonzo Ball, if they wanted that, they could offer, for the salaries to match, they could do a sign and trade with Toronto and offer Bledsoe and George Hill, and that would fit the trade. Now, Toronto would do that. I think New Orleans could offer that. The thing about it is, does Fred VanVleet want to go to New Orleans? That would be the issue there. And depending on how much they pay him. Now, if they decided to overpay, I don't think they're going to do that though. I think they're happy with Bledsoe starting next to Ball, and they don't have to pay an absorbent amount. So they would be our only competition to me for Fred VanVleet. And without them, there really is no competition for Fred VanVleet. So really it's New York or stay in Toronto. Okay. Now, for Fred VanVleet, what I would do is I would give him $20 million a year for 4 years. Okay. And again, it would be incentive laden. So I wouldn't be looking for him to have, for example, he'd have to shoot at least 37% from three. He's a career 38 or 39% 3-point shooter. So I say, okay, at least 37% from three. I'm looking for at least 80% from the foul line. You got to play in at least 85% of the games, stuff like that, stuff that he could do. And if he did do, he'd be worth the money for us, right? So, it would be incentive laden. So I give him $20 million a year for 4 years and $2 million a year in incentives for a total value of contract of $88 million. And I think that would get him here. If we wanted him. So that's a possibility. Okay. Now let's talk about Gordon Hayward. Yesterday in the news, it came out that the Knicks were definitely kicking the tires. Which they kick the tires everywhere. They're good at due diligence. So that doesn't mean they're going to get him, but they were interested in Gordon Hayward. Some outlets make it seem like they're desperate for him. I'm not buying that. I think they're kicking the tires on Gordon Hayward. They would like to have him, but they're not going to go crazy. So I think they offer Gordon Hayward 3 years, $54 million straight up, 3rd year team option. Done. I mean, they may have to guarantee all 3 years because he's giving up $34 million. So 3 years, $54 million for Gordon Hayward. And that's it. Period. He's an unrestricted free agent. So that's done. I think Atlanta might pay more for him though. I think Atlanta might go 3 years, $60 million. And then he's there. Okay. So we have an opportunity for Hayward. I don't think the Knicks are going to overpay for him. Atlanta might overpay for him because I think Atlanta really wants him. That's why I thought they would trade Onyeka Okongwu for him in a signing trade because Danny Ainge really wants Onyeka Okongwu. But, they may keep Onyeka and just, sign him outright now that he's unrestricted free agent. Okay. So we have an opportunity at Hayward. If we go get Hayward, we're not going to get Fred VanVleet. We're probably going to sign a DJ Augustine. We're probably going to do that. Maybe he gets 1 year, $12 million or something like that. But we're probably going to sign DJ Augustine as a backup point guard. Frank will probably start at the point if they do that. Okay. So that's that. And then there's Bogdanovich. Now, this is very interesting. Kings really messed up. I told y'all that a lot of these teams make these deals even when they're not supposed to be. This is one of them. Because as soon as the trade moratorium ended, they had this deal already in place. So they already had it in place before. The problem was the idiot Kings did not discuss this with Bogdanovich. So now the NBA is investigating whether this deal was done before the moratorium was lifted, which it was. And they may squash the deal anyway, right? So now the Kings are in a position where they had a player traded without telling the player. And the player's a restricted free agent. I think Bogdanovich is probably out of there. And so we're talking about a sign and trade. Julius Randle's back in the picture again. Because Marvin Bagley is the starting 4 for the Kings. Rashard Holmes is the starting 5 for the Kings. Marvin Bagley, of course, he's 20 years old or 21, and he's been hurt a lot. Lottery pick. I think he's 2nd overall. And so I can see Julius Randle going there and either starting at the 5 in front of Rashard Holmes or playing behind Marvin Bagley, or Bagley being hurt often, Julius Randle starting at the 4. So we're talking about, again, but with Bogdanovich, he's going to probably cost you $18 million a year. He's probably going to cost you a little more. He's 28 years old, proven shooter. Whereas Malik is young, 23, and he's just coming into his own. You can get him cheaper. And then with the legal troubles, you can get him cheaper. But Bogdanovich is going to cost you 18. So if you get a Bogdanovich, again, you're probably not going to get Fred VanVleet. I mean, it's possible they can squeeze that in there. Maybe they offer Fred VanVleet the contract I said, but the first year is, 19 million or 18 million, something that make it fit. It's possible, but I don't think so. So Bogdanovich for Julius Randle, straight up Bogdanovich, 3 years, 54 million. And that salary matches with the 19 plus million that Julius Randle's going to get paid. So that deal is done. The Knicks are going to they could get 2 of these guys this weekend. I think they would probably run and have Fred VanVleet and Beasley, because VanVleet is now willing to come. And really the market for him is not as great as people think. Atlanta doesn't want him. Sacramento has space. They don't want him. Detroit now, they got to pay Christian Wood, right? So you got to figure they're going to pay Christian Wood at least 12 million, maybe even probably 14. And they got 30 in cap space. They don't even have 30. Detroit has 27 million in cap space. They played Christian Wood 14 million. There goes the cap. So now they can't get Fred VanVleet. Okay. Unless they sign VanVleet first and then go over the cap for Christian Wood. But they ain't in a position where they want to be going over the cap. They ain't a playoff team. Playoff teams do that. You don't want to do that. So I think Detroit is out. Detroit is out. And we just talked about New Orleans. And he ain't going to Charlotte. They just got LaMelo Ball. And they got Scary Terry. And they got Devontae Graham. He's not going to Charlotte. Okay? Miami, Gordon Dragic is probably back. No. And they're going to give that money to Gallinari. So, VanVleet's only market, honestly, unless he goes to a playoff team that wants to sign and trade for him. And I'm trying to figure out which team it would be that would sign and trade, which playoff team would sign and trade for Fred VanVleet. And I don't know. I don't know who would do it. Maybe the Clippers. Not San Antonio. Maybe Milwaukee. If they lose out on Bogdanovich, maybe they sign and trade for Fred VanVleet. I don't know. They just got Drew Holiday though, so I don't know what they're going. Indiana, maybe Indiana. If Indiana wants to do a sign and trade with Victor Oladipo, I don't think Toronto's interested. So really, New York is the only market for Fred VanVleet. New York and Toronto are his market, and he's leaning. I'm telling you right now, he's leaning to leave in Toronto. So we just got to make him a solid offer. We're not going to overpay. Now I don't want to give him 88 million all guaranteed plus incentives to make it 90. I'll do 80 million with incentives to make it 88. Incentives that he should be able to get. Like I said, play 85% of the game, shoot 37% from 3, give me 80% from the line, make your defensive plus minus a certain amount, so that we know you're giving your effort. And hey, I would do that. Okay. So we have an opportunity to get Fred VanVleet. The only question is, can we get Beasley with him? And I think we can. So we're going to get one of these guys this weekend. We're going to get one of these guys this weekend. I'm telling you right now. Okay. We're going to get one of these cats. If we can get 2 of them though. Now the thing is about VanVleet, and y'all going to think I'm crazy, but I think the Knicks are committed to Dennis Smith Jr. and Frank Ntilikina this year. I think they're committed to playing them. So they may not go hard after VanVleet, which means they're going to get one of the other guys. They'll get Beasley, Hayward, or Bogdanovich, and they'll bring in a veteran like again, DJ Augustine as a backup to those. I think to me, I see y'all gonna think, but I think the Knicks are committed this year to find out what they have in Dennis Smith Jr. and Frank Ntilikina. I think they're committed to finding this out. Y'all all talking about how desperate we are for a point guard. Look, they didn't even get a point guard in the draft. And they could have. They could have had Malachi Flynn. They could have had Terrell Terry. They could have. They probably could have moved up and got Kyra Lewis. But they didn't. So I think they're committed to these two guys. And I think the likelihood is they're going to sign either Bogdanovich, Hayward, or Beasley. And they're going to bring in DJ Augustine as a veteran to just be there as a backup for DSJ and Frank. That's what I'm saying. They could theoretically sign Fred VanVleet and Malik Beasley. They could do that. And if they wanted to squeeze it, they could get Fred VanVleet and one of the other guys. It'll be a little bit more difficult, but they could get two of them guys this weekend if they wanted them. But I'm telling you right now, they're going to get one of these guys this weekend. The Knicks are going to get one of these guys this weekend. And I really like how the team is looking. Getting Obi Toppin was the first step. Okay. In this all coming together. So, that's probably why they wanted him so bad, because Obi Toppin solves their stretch four problem. They don't have to worry about stretch four. They don't have to look at Christian Wood. They don't got to look at Grant. They don't have to look at Bertans or Gallinari. They got their stretch four. And that solves a lot. And they got him on a rookie deal. So that's done for a minute. So, but we should be excited because this weekend, they're going to get one of these guys. I'm telling you right now, they're going to get one of these guys. Even if they have to overpay more for Beasley, they're going to get one of these guys. To me, you get Beasley 16 if you need to. I'm trying to tell y'all. This kid, Beasley, I'm feeling Florida State this year. Okay, so we didn't get Pat Will. He went number 4 to Chicago. We didn't get Devin Vassell, but we got Obi. I'm feeling Florida State though, y'all. So I want Beasley. Above all of these guys, I want Beasley. Okay, 23, he fits the timeline. And he's about to ball out. I'm trying to tell y'all, he's coming to ball out. And if you giving them incentives so that, don't hurt us too bad if he, comes in and wets the bed. Okay. So we pay him for, and we could do that 3rd year for Beasley, 3rd year team option. You're not guaranteeing all 3 years. 3rd year team option. Okay. That's the bet. And we could get him like that. 3 years, 42 incentive laden deal. Or 3 years, even if we need to go that high, 48, we need to outbid everybody. We got the money. We got the money. Now, Atlanta is our competition for Beasley. But I think, like I said, Atlanta's looking more at Hayward. I think Atlanta wants Hayward. Okay. And so, and they probably going to get him. I think Atlanta probably going to get him. But we're going to sign one of these guys this weekend. Everybody in the league, okay, knows that the Knicks have the money. And they know Atlanta has the money. The only question is, which one of us is going to get what? And where the players want to go. Okay? That's the only question. So, here we go, y'all. Here we go. Today's Friday. Y'all see me again. You might see me Sunday. After the dust clears, you might see me Monday. But whichever. Please have a safe weekend. Have a wonderful weekend. And we will talk to you soon. Let me know what you guys think. But Bogdanovich, Hayward, Beasley, Fred VanVleet, one of them is going to be a Knick by Sunday. One of them is going to be a Knick by Sunday. Maybe 2 of them. And probably Julius Randle won't be here. Shalom.